Great. My name is Linda Biggs. I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of Joni. And Joni is a 21st century period care brand. And we're on a mission to make sustainable period care accessible to everyone who needs it. Now, I want you to imagine that you're in a public restroom and you're sitting on the toilet, you're doing your business, and you reach over to grab some toilet paper and the roll is empty. This oh shit moment is exactly what over 80 million people have experienced at one point in their menstrual cycle. I, as a natural consumer, realized that I had menstruated over 300 times in my life, but I resonated more with a shoe brand or a water bottle company than I did with any period care brand out there. And so we created Joni to really disrupt this outdated and inequitable $26 billion menstrual care industry. And anyone who menstruates, who has ever been caught off guard and needed to use a dispenser in the bathrooms, know how low the bar is when it comes to that experience. So we created Joni essentially as a brand flywheel. We have a D2C component that we launched with in 2020. And so we deliver sustainable period care products to people anywhere in Canada to make it more equitable, because some folks living in remote communities don't actually have access to sustainable products. We're also rolling out in retail across Canada. But our biggest channel and our biggest opportunity is our B2B channel. And we found this out over the last 3 years, and that is what has really scaled our growth. So the problem is that period care is actually not accessible. Yet 26% of the population menstruates. That's over 96 million people in Canada and the US alone. And this also includes the organizations that they work for, because labor codes in Canada are changing effective December 15th. All federally regulated organizations will be required to provide free pads and tampons to their workers. And this is rolling out state by state in the US as well. So we created Joni Commercial Solutions. We have an innovative commercial dispenser with a 30-second wait time that requires no payment. So this provides free products. And we also have what we call our Model A to help smaller offices distribute their products. And we're really focusing on design, quality, and impact with our B2B model. We're the only Canadian period care brand and only 2 brands in North America that offer a full turnkey solution, where we provide the hardware, but also the products that go into that hardware. So really what's scalable is our ARR while we get those dispensers out, and we have a product subscription, a commercial subscription month over month. And our profitability in that space is fairly significant at 50%. And this is a recurring item that organizations and people need every month and every quarter. So what makes Joni different is that in this space, we have the conventional brands that we all know that have been around for a long time that are really in the non-sustainable space. These are plastic-based products that take over 300 years to break down. Joni uses biodegradable, plastic-free, eco-friendly material, so it breaks down within 12 months. So this is providing a more sustainable option for consumers, but also organizations that are really looking at UN sustainability goals and equity initiatives within their organization. So in this space, there's a lot of pop-up brands that are in the retail and D2C space, and that's where their focus is. And there's a US brand that's only focusing on institutional customers. For Joni, we're really sitting in the middle because we see this flywheel as an opportunity to get Joni into people's hands through B2B, building that trust with such a trust-based product, and then really leveraging that for the recognition on shelves at retail, and then allowing them to sign up for subscriptions. So our traction to date since launching in 2020, we have over 500 dispensers that have rolled out to organizations. And one of the key growth areas for us starting essentially last month has been our partnerships with janitorial companies who are acting as our distributors in the B2B space. So this includes Staples, Busy Bee, Alpine, Be Clean. There's actually quite a few of these in Canada and the US that have reached out to us because this is such a demand right now and these regulations are changing. We have 300 subscribers online, and we have over 600 retailers across Canada, one of those including Whole Foods and London Drugs, as retailers you might be familiar with. So our growth projections are really from a bottom-up approach. We're looking at rolling out 5,000 dispensers by 2025, with the average ARR being $500 for recurring revenue. We're aiming for 5,000 subscriptions on our D2C and 2,000 doors for our retail. So use of funds is really operational. We're a small but mighty team that I'll get into in a minute here, and really wanting to set up the right people for success. R&D is a big component for what we do at Joni. The menstrual care space has not been innovated. It's been basically the same for the last 30 years. So innovation is a big part of what we do. Sales and marketing to really help that flywheel brand growth grow. So our team, it's myself. I have natural consumer founder Fit, and Jayesh, who is a pharmacologist. Jayesh focuses on the research and the development and our supplier relationships. I focus on the front end, the branding, the consumer, on the consumer side. We have Wendy, Krista, and Rachel. We're a small but mighty team. And we also have 2 advisors, one in the government relations space, which has actually helped us quite significantly become a thought leader in this space and get in front of a lot of MLAs who are making decisions in this area for Canada. And we also have the CEO of a large Canadian nonprofit with really, really great connections. So our investment opportunity, essentially, we're looking for a $300,000 safe, pre-money valuation at $4 million and a 10% discount. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks, Linda.
Yeah, should I stop sharing or just keep the screen up? I think you guys want to see.
It's up to you. Actually, seeing it is kind of neat.
Okay.
Okay, good. Kathy, do you want to kick us off?
Sure, no problem. Great set of products, Linda. Great presentation. You did a really good job. I just 2 main questions. The first one is, I thought when you introduced the direct-to-consumer part of your business that you were talking about giving product away for free. And then later you talked about a subscription model for the direct-to-consumer. So is there just an element of that that's free, and then, but there's part of that that's paid?
I think I might have been confusing because the product that's in the machines that organizations give out is free product, but our subscriptions online are paid for. Okay.
And the subscription model would be, so for example, I'm a woman, I menstruate regularly, so I would subscribe to your product, and then once a month I would get a shipment from you?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, and does your dispenser, does it have the ability to house other types of period products, or is it only Joni products?
It's only Joni products. So we have our own unique boxes. So it's just Joni products. The innovation that we're working on currently is to actually remove the waste of the box and just dispense a pad and a tampon alone. But for now, it's just Joni products.
Okay, and have you looked at all at expanding to dispense products beyond just the Joni product?
Yes, so we're currently working on a cup and underwear. We're not sure how that will work within the commercial dispenser, just based on what the demand is from the organizations, but there is an opportunity there for those products, those reusable products, in a different sales capacity to organizations. So for example, Shopify, they're a fully remote team. They want to support their workers. They might be able to, they'll buy gift cards. And so their team can then purchase reusable underwear or cups as a perk within their team. So from that model is what we're looking into.
Okay, so I think I'm probably getting too much into the business and not really focusing on the actual pitch. The pitch was really great. I think the only areas where I was a little bit confused was on, how you were making money versus direct to consumer subscriptions,
Okay.
retail, and the dispenser. That to me wasn't clear. But other than that, everything, I don't really have any additional comments. I don't think you mentioned much about IP. So that might be something that you could add, but honestly, it was a great pitch.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Mathieu?
Sure. Yeah, great presentation. Flow was very good. The visual is good. So easy to understand, easy to follow. So that's very good. I was also confused a little bit, and this is where, and I'll ask more questions about this. So for your B2B model, are you also planning to do a subscription?
Yeah, so the way it works is, for example, two ways. One is we sell our products to a distributor like Staples. Staples has thousands of offices that they work with, and so they resell it to those offices, but we're not part of that. We just sell it to a distributor just like we would for retail. So we could earn revenue that way, and our margins are roughly between 40 and 50% depending on the product. The other way is a commercial subscription. So for I'll just go back to the Model A dispensers there. It's less of a sales cycle and more of a conversion. So we have like hotels, for example, who just want to provide these to their teams or have them potentially at the front desk. So they will buy this online, and then there's a quarterly subscription for them.
Okay. So this before, I think you mentioned at one point that before you were doing only a direct to consumer. Is that correct?
Yeah, we launched as a direct-to-consumer company, and we started off that way from just financially, at the time, that's what we were able to afford. And we're unique in the sense for D2C, and I don't know if a lot of times we get asked this question, but we can do D2C great because our boxes are designed differently. They're letter mail boxes, so we can ship anywhere in Canada for letter mail rates. So it's been really good for us in that way because it allows us to get to places that might otherwise be really expensive to ship to for a very low rate.
Okay. And how are you still doing that? Do you have any numbers to share, or it's not really good enough that you don't want to share? Because this is the kind of a bit of confusing. The confusion is around like, okay, it seems that you're not certain where you're going with the business model and that you've tried something, but we haven't seen the results.
Yeah, that's really good feedback. And I think that's where like I probably need to lean into in terms of the information, where this like flywheel approach really comes from, because as a consumer, this is such a trust-based product. We need to like oftentimes see multiple touch points in order for us to even give it a try. So the idea with the flywheel and why there's essentially 3 channels or 3 businesses is that the dispensers get joni into people's hands, and then they can decide to either buy us at retail or buy us online. And to answer your question, our subscriptions online is roughly $40,000 a year since 2020. It's increased about 5% a year, but we haven't done any marketing. It's just been natural growth, mostly because our average cart value is under $20 and it just is too expensive to convert at that point. So we're really just doing more brand awareness. But we know that once we bring in the reusables at a higher price point, we're going to be able to go over that $30 average cart value. And then that might make more sense for conversions. Our retail channel is a much more traditional channel. So we're able to roll out, say, for example, at Whole Foods, we're rolling out to all 14 locations. We're the only Canadian disposable period care brand on retail shelves. And so that is a really big driver for a lot of retailers to bring us in, especially in the natural space. And again, like those two kind of go hand in hand, because you might even order a subscription, but then you pick up product at the store. Like we've had customers do that because of the nature of the product. And then you go to work, or you go, if you happen to work for a federal organization, now you've got Joni products in your bathrooms. So it's these multiple touch points that I think are really, that's what we see as our moat in many ways in this space.
Okay. And so yeah, it's not my space, but have you approached, like, from what I understand with like bathroom products, like in commercial buildings and all that, there must be specific distributors that provide all of this, all of these supplies, and it's very similar where you've got soap and then you need to put new soap in it and all that. So all these companies that are doing that, those distributors, have you approached them? And is that, because you've mentioned Staples, but that's probably not necessarily Staples that does that. So just wondering if you've got any traction there or any interest.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And we have, so Staples, so if you're an office manager for an office space, you are doing the toilet paper ordering, you're doing that like paper ordering through Staples, but you're right. Like we also have been approached by, it's called Busy Bee, Be Clean, Transtar and Alpine. And these are all janitorial companies that have teams that actually go into the washrooms. So we have been approached by them, and they've placed orders as of last month. So that is another way that we're really scaling this channel. And most of it is because there is a demand coming from the organizations, both because of the changes in labor code, but also just any kind of, DEI initiatives internally, trying to make more equitable workplaces. They're putting budget towards this. And so they're saying to their janitorial teams, how can we bring in this product? And they're coming to us and saying, well, what do you have as a solution? And so we're providing them that solution.
Okay, so yeah, in general for me, yeah, presentation is good, but this is just, if you could think a bit more how to present those different, like B2B, D2C and all that, like try to make it so that there's less confusion. I think that was the biggest thing. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Mathieu. Nolan, do you have some comments?
Yeah. And sorry, I am like, my kids are getting off the bus in 1 minute or any minute now. So I'm half looking outside here. So apologies if I have to just step away for 30 seconds. Yeah. So I think it's like the opposite of Michelle's. It was like, we needed just a little bit more information. And also I think you finished, it was like an 8-minute pitch. So you've got time, right? So let's see a little bit more. And actually there's the bus with a cliffhanger here. So sorry, just give me literally 30 seconds.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was 8 minutes exactly, Linda. Just so
I know. It's so funny because every pitch that I've done to date has had to be between 3 and like 6 minutes. So,
so you've been on the speech
I've been trying to drag it out. Yeah.
Right.
But it's a good problem to have, really, because usually it's the opposite. You have too much information you want to say, so you've got room to add a little bit more information.
Can I ask a question about, sorry.
Yeah.
I just, because oftentimes we're pitching to people who don't menstruate. So we often use that story at the beginning where we talk about you're sitting on a toilet, you reach for the toilet paper. I'm just wondering if did that resonate? Was that needed? Like, would love feedback on that front.
Personally, I thought it was very clever, but I think that because I knew your product and I knew it was period care. So I was curious how you were going to engage the guys, and I thought it was clever. But I think their perception it would matter more than mine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So guy who got engaged. Yes. So thumbs up on the story there. So I think, continue comments about like, again, where is the business today? You had the traction slide that had some numbers, right? So if you can just turn those numbers into revenue. And again, this is an early stage angel investing pro. Like if the numbers aren't good, it's okay. Like, or if they're low, again. And then what I'd love to see is like, these are and by the end, you'll be like, these are 2023 numbers, right? Because by the time you're pitching a little bit more towards the end of the program, you have a good idea of what this year will look like. Then show me what each, and you can do like that, a stack graph where you have each tier and you'll see, right? Maybe the direct consumer isn't growing like crazy, but the B2B grows a lot next year and then even more in the year after. Right. And
So
like
projections?
yeah,
Projections?
well, it's
Okay.
like because you had your traction today, which was
Yeah.
not clear of what the revenue was, and then you had your
Yeah.
projections for 2025. And
Right.
so like I was trying to do some backwards math back and forth there. It's like, so show me 2023, 2024, 2025, and stack the 3 bits of revenue. The other, like the numbers don't, like 600 retails doesn't mean anything to me unless it's a dollar
Right.
amount.
Right.
So I think just visually to show that a little bit more, and it's okay if it's really low now, right? You're only raising $300,000. You're not raising a lot of money, and that also helps me understand. Okay, where does $300,000 take you, right? What can you do with the raise? Again, where is the next inflection point for the business? Does it get you to this much revenue, this much traction, and then you can raise more money, or you're a profitable company?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, that was kind of big comment number 1. The other piece is, again, from someone who has never used a pad dispenser in a, like, yeah, you showed the picture, like it's ugly, it looks gross, the current version. I did not hear you say why yours was better, and other than just me visually looking at like it's prettier. So if there, like, is there some functional innovation? Is there like even just a couple lines on that for the person who hasn't experienced it, and maybe even for someone who has, I just didn't even hear anything that would say, all you said is like the bar is really low, right? And like, sorry, did I miss that? Like, and maybe I wasn't listening, and like, can it just, anyone else who's on the call, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't.
I just like from that Nolan, as a woman receiving that information, there were 2 things that were really obvious. First of all, it's free. Do you know how hard it is when you start your period and you need to find a quarter to get a pad?
Right. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you have 15 minutes to get back to the meeting. And the other thing is the bar is really low was so obvious to me. The bar is so low. So if this is a nice streamlined system, sustainable product, it's free, and it's a subscription-based model that it gets automatically refilled, because that's the other big thing. They're forever empty when you need them.
So I don't think I understood that it was free right at the start. I got there eventually, but then now to me, you're right. Again, like, when was the last time I had change in my pocket in this day and age, for sure. So now I'm getting that, but so it wasn't obvious to me up front, other than like, it sucks. And then what makes me wonder, but ultimately for this product though, the end consumer is not the buyer. It's the janitorial company, it's the state, it's those individuals who are actually making the decision. So why do they care? And I did not hear that either. And again, I presume that people buying, like, those are men. Those are not people who care about the user experience necessarily. Like, or like a decent percentage is not your target end consumer. So I'd love to hear more of why they will be choosing Joni and not the existing status quo.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Nolan, because the end customer for the B2B is those distributing company. But something you said that's very good, and if you can put even more emphasis on it, is that you said is it regulations that is gonna this is huge, right? It's like something that people might not know, that there's a change and then there's a big opportunity to make money, right?
Regulatory tailwinds, anytime you can, like, like, you're right. And now that you're saying it, Mathieu, like, that was there, but it was just like really push. And that's when you show your projections of like why the B2B is going to be huge in 2025, is because by this date, this state and this province and this whatever have to have a solution like Joni, right? So even like pushing that even further makes your projections more credible, right? Because every pitch that we see is a hockey stick growth. The revenue is tiny now, it's much bigger later. But if you can actually have like, they won't be like, that's nice, that's cute, I don't care, like, at the end of the day, what's the cheaper option? It's like, no, I have to have a solution like Joni.
And like, you can almost, if there's enough like jurisdiction to show, maybe like it's a map that's showing like all these jurisdiction are changing regulations or whatever. And it's kind of the intersection of a lot of things happening in the same time. People are looking for sustainable products. This is happening. We're just at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I like that idea. Actually, a map would be really good, because when we say federally regulated organizations, it's like, well, who is that? But that's TELUS. That's like all the telecommunications companies. That's like all the government organizations, courthouses. Just in BC alone, there's over 500 courthouses that have to be stocked with product.
That would be great
so
to give us examples.
Yeah, so
I'm curious, Linda, about something that you said early on, and I'm wondering as a marketing campaign, if it would be valuable, or if you're already doing it. So you mentioned, you know, in remote communities, they have oftentimes limited access to product, and sustainability is really critical in remote communities as well. Have you considered, or are you looking at campaigns where you'll take a percentage of sales to these larger organizations like the TELUS or, you know, other you know, maybe hotels or whatever, who are buying the dispenser and then subscribing to product? A percentage of sales as donations to oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah, I moved this slide to the appendix, but I probably had time to put it in. But we have a 5% give back model. So this is good in many ways. One, it's like you know, it's part of our mission, but it's also a marketing driver for us. So as an example, we are pitching to CIBC, and they're wondering, why am I going to pay potentially a bit of a premium for Joni products in all of our bank locations? And this would be a why, because they have internal DEI initiatives that will link up to this, and then we can work with them on giving back to an organization. So Kathy, you nailed it. That's exactly what we're trying to do.
That's awesome. And the other thing that I think you started to say that you didn't quite get through was the SDGs. So, you know, these companies, there's one local in Ottawa, Ascent, they're selling sustainability, diversity, and governance. There's lots of investment money going into there. So I would say, you know, double down on how this supports those initiatives for the companies in particular that are working in that space.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, great. I think we better leave it there. Thank you, Yichelle and Linda, for the great presentations. And Nolan, Mathieu, and Kathy, thanks so much. I think that was fantastic feedback for our companies, and look forward to receiving your forms. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you